And honestly, as we're talking through it, I know these are things that we've done to try and be better listeners, be better communicators, be more present for each other. It doesn't mean we get it right all the time.
No.
Um, but it does mean that we try and prioritize kind of a human-centered approach. I don't know if that's the way to say it, but kind of that going back to that idea of someone actually cares about me and sees me for me. We try and approach how we communicate to each other, I think, with that.
Welcome back to In Residence. I'm Keith.
And I'm Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Keith.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. What's up?
Okay. So I was listening to a Zoom webinar this morning, and the person leading the call and then the person that was calling in started to get emotional, the person that called in.
Okay.
And they said, "This is the first time I feel like someone has actually seen me and cares about me without wondering what it is I can do for them."
Oh, okay.
And it was a moment where I just kind of stopped and I was like, ooh, I'm like, I bet a lot of people feel that way often, where there's a lot to be done and a lot that people need done. But sometimes we can get stuck in that piece where you're only appreciative because I did the dishes, I did the laundry, I picked up the groceries, all the I dids. And to really be seen and appreciated for who you are and not what you accomplish or do was a very whoa moment for me.
Wow. That brings up that almost feels like the opposite of resenting the fact that you're the one that does the dishes, the laundry thing, or like when you get in that tit for tat with maybe your partner, let's say. That's what comes up for me, right?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk to you about it.
So say I'm home, right? And I did the dishes and I did the laundry and I didn't do anything else that maybe filled my cup.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come home and for some reason I read into your body language or the way you didn't do something for me. And then I say, you never do this, or I did this and I did this and I did this. And then you just waltz in and you just drop your bag wherever and then you go and do your own thing, right? Like that kind of trope.
Yep.
So it feels similar, but it's different.
Yeah.
Does it matter what the call was about before we move forward? Or is the important thing maybe these miscommunications or the narratives that we have in our head?
I think the important thing is about the narratives that we have in our head.
Cool. So tell me more.
Yeah. So as I was listening to it, I felt very fortunate because I was kind of checking myself too. I'm like, gosh, because she was talking about, oh, my husband doesn't do this, and at work, this doesn't happen this way, and, kind of on and on.
And the only time somebody does something for me is because I'll reciprocate. Is that kind of what was from the call?
Sort of, but it was more of a maybe.
Okay.
So it was more of a people only acknowledge me or appreciate me because I do this.
Okay.
Not necessarily people do things for me because I do things for them. It was more people don't see me for who I am. They just see the things I do for them.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was thinking and reflecting about you and I know earlier in our relationship and even in some of our trickier weeks or things like that, we can get more into that. Who did the dishes? Who did the laundry? Oh, you save the lawn for me to mow, or vice versa.
Right.
But I also feel like we have a different level where I feel like you do see me and appreciate me.
Mm-hmm.
And and not just because of the things I do for us and for our family. And I'm hoping that you also know that I see you for who you are, not just because of the things that you do for our family. Even though those things that we do for our family, both of us and for each other, are important to keeping us as a family unit functioning, I don't see that as your identity. I don't think you see it as my identity.
Right. Which we can fall into pretty easily with the pace at which we live our lives, right?
Right.
All of a sudden, it's the middle of 2025.
I know. Where on earth did the time go?
Right.
My goodness.
Yeah. So I get that. Yeah. So where do you want to go with that? Like, do you have an idea of like what else comes up with you when you think about those things?
I mean, one thing that I thought about immediately is how much you and I have grown in our relationship over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that you see me for who I am at my core is something that has taken a lot of time, a lot of hard conversations, a lot of vulnerability on both of our parts. But
Because you do the same thing for me,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. Thinking back 15 years ago or something like that, I don't know if we would say the same thing
Hmm.
entirely.
I don't know if we would know enough to ask that thing.
It's a really good point.
You know, we were so in the moment in a way, and maybe not. I don't know if I had the reflective muscle developed.
Yeah.
You know, it was more stewing, possibly, right? Um,
Sorry,
and
I don't
not
mean to laugh at
no,
you.
but like my 20 something version of reflection was, I don't like what just happened, and I'm going to be cranky about it.
Sorry. It made me remember. So we watched a Netflix show. Was it Four Seasons?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment where they go, "Your personality is squats."
Right, right.
And so I'm like, "Your personality is stewing."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
No, I mean, there was probably a lot of like emotional growth or simply growth,
Hmm.
and that, you know, when you're 20 something, like you
Yeah.
feel so old, but and I'm saying this as a middle aged guy now, you know,
Yeah.
40 something. So I'm not trying to lecture about that, but the people listening to this are probably around our age.
And I think at the same time, as you're saying that from your vantage point, I know I've grown too because probably back then I was much more focused on the fairy tale, the what should it be? What ought this look like? Um, what are the Joneses doing? I don't think we know any Joneses, but you know what I mean? I was much more on that fairy tale. And if it's not the fairy tale, we're doing it wrong or you're doing it wrong. And why can't you be that? Why can't I be that? That's really hard to have those.
Well, those narratives
Yeah.
and those scripts, but that's all you know because you've maybe not experienced anything other than that. Yeah, we've experienced quite a bit together. Some things have been harder than others, but we've grown through it, right?
I think so. I mean, the whole concept of centering who someone is and appreciating them for who they are at their core and not wishing they were someone else or.
So like we have those scripts or those stories
Mhm.
that we learn at a younger age, right? Inform how we act or our choices. You can't quite blame yourself for being inexperienced
Right.
and only knowing what you think you ought to know.
Mhm.
Certain growth only comes with experience and over time, right? And
Yeah.
it's tricky to navigate those things. Kind of how you started. It's like seeing somebody for who they are, or you seeing me for how I am or who I am. That is very vulnerable.
Mhm.
I know you still experience me feeling uncomfortable with how much you can see maybe right through any of the armor I might put up. But that's invaluable for me to have your perspective and to realize that you're there to support me. And you know more than I maybe want you to, right? Or you can see more than I wanted to let on, but you're so used to my defense mechanisms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that can be hard. And I mean, I think that's probably where some of those growing pains probably happened in our relationship, was us learning how to let the other person in
Mm-hmm.
as our perspectives were growing at the same time, and our narratives were shifting around what we maybe saw as our ideal future.
Yeah.
You maybe grew up wanting to be a princess. I maybe grew up wanting to be a hockey player or a knight, right? Like these things that you read in stories from when you're little, but then
Yeah.
life happens and it shifts and changes. So like, are there, I guess I'm talking around the question I maybe want to ask is, are there things that I do or that you want me to do that help you feel seen, or that uh like, because like maybe I appreciate that you understand who I am and how I show up, but it can also be a slightly uncomfortable feeling to feel like am I that transparent? But it's also really a really nice feeling to know that you do see me.
Right.
It's just that took time to get comfortable with the fact that, oh, this person cares so much, that they're paying so much attention, that they know maybe what I want more than I am willing to admit to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what comes up when I hear that idea of people actually seeing me for who I am. Because I think we spend a lot of our youth and our early parts of our life being afraid of that vulnerability that comes with it.
Yeah. I think we do, because it's the vulnerability, but then also trusting that your partner that you're being vulnerable with isn't going to kind of crush your dreams, right?
Yeah. Well, and like, I guess that brings up that I'm sure we both heard it from like Brene Brown, that you can't have courage without vulnerability,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that vulnerability between like you and I as partners, that's trust.
Yeah.
And so I'm I'm more willing to be vulnerable for you if it's going to serve you and your ability to be courageous and maybe be aspirational, and let's say your career, right?
Mm-hmm.
And prop you up. Whereas like if you flip that same narrative on me and you're trying to prop me up, I like lean back and I push back and I'm like, you're pushing me too hard and I don't like the way this feels. So we're
Yeah.
different people.
We are. Yeah.
And yet um we don't necessarily need the same thing at the same time or in the same ways. But I think we both need that connection and support that comes in our partnership to help us move in the direction that, like, again, for me, I don't always necessarily understand what I want without having you to be able to bounce it off of in a very patient way that you show up. Because there's something with me where I don't know if, not hand holding, but it's more of like, I think I'm the stubbornness or standoffishness, right? Or something. Like it's not as prevalent as it maybe once was,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's very interesting navigating interpersonal communication.
Yeah. My brain is kind of on fire right now
Yeah. Let
because
it
I'm
go.
thinking of things that you and I have. I don't know if they're skills or strategies that you and I have kind of developed together that have helped us be able to stay in that vulnerability and build that trust,
Handle each other.
handle
No,
each
I'm
other. Well,
kidding.
I don't know if it's handling, but
No,
it's,
I mean like, I don't mean like I'm dealing with you. I mean like I'm going to help you operate, and I'm like the person that like a handler, like a person that like helps somebody get from here to there. That's what I meant.
Kind of like a midwife.
Kind of.
Something like, okay. So, um, I'm going to do these in no specific order.
What are these?
Okay, so there's three things that I thought of as we were talking and I was listening to you, and I didn't want to interrupt you.
No,
So
please take the reins. I ramble way too much.
no, so one of the things that we have done and been able to articulate with each other and come to a really good understanding is neither one of us like to be reprioritized.
You brought that to my attention because I do that to you.
Correct.
And I realized, like, oh, yeah, I don't like that either. Or maybe you even said, if I did this to you, how would you react? And I'm like, oh. It's like kind of like touche.
Yeah.
How like I put my hands up and back away. Like, you're right. I'm sorry.
But it's something I think I also have a tendency to do where, I mean,
we're both stubborn and we
we're
both
both
have
stubborn.
great ideas of how things should go.
Yep. But just thinking about, like if I'm out doing a project in the yard and you're inside doing something, and I come in, I'm like, Keith, I need you right now because I need you to help with this.
Yeah.
But you're busy.
I've got like two things in each hand and I'm like,
Yep. And I'm not like, oh, can you take a minute? Or when would be a good time for me to get some help with this? Like we've learned, I think, over the years and are much better at doing that, of not coming in and assuming that our thing is the most important thing. If it's an emergency, totally get it. Different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, or like something close to that is like when you come and maybe ask me for my opinion or feedback with, like, say, one of your projects or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've gotten to the point where I've learned that I should say, okay, do you actually want my feedback? Because I will give it. In prior days, I would openly and willingly give it, and I still will, but you would defer it. And that would like hurt my feelings. Yeah. I'm like, well, why did you ask me? Because my opinion is really good and smart, and I like my opinion. And you'd be like, yeah, no, okay, thanks, but no, thanks.
That's not what I wanted.
That's not what I wanted to hear. And so what I've learned is if you're asking me for my help, especially if I'm in the middle of something else, it's like, do you actually want my opinion? Do you actually want my help? So that's a little tangent of that, but like I think that's come with the thing that's popping in my head is what is it? When you're like listening to somebody, it's like, do you want help? Do you want a hug, or do you want to be heard?
Yeah.
And I've gotten better at asking you those things, like maybe not in that specific way.
Yeah.
But sometimes it literally is in that specific way.
Mm-hmm. You've asked me that, and sometimes I'm like, I just need a hug.
Yeah, because 15 years ago, maybe when you were doing your dissertation, you would ask me what I thought you were asking me was for my opinion. And then like 5 minutes after my rant of like my opinion, you're like, I just wanted you to listen. And
I just needed a hug and to cry.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, the stereotypical like, oh, you have a problem, I'll fix it. Yeah. I have a great solution for you. When it's like, actually, I thought I understood what a solution would be, but I didn't get the whole story, or I don't understand all the dynamics, right? Yeah. So that I think that's close to that. Mm-hmm. Not reprioritizing somebody, or understanding what the priority is for how you can best show up for them in the moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The fixing, that was another example I had here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I'm smart. I
know
learned.
You're smart. No, but it's human nature when somebody shares something that's hard or difficult for you to go to solution. Mm-hmm. Where, again, just like the examples you were giving about, do you want a hug? Do you want feedback? Do you those pieces? I think the fixing, we've gotten better too of, do you want advice or something like this? Or we've even set the stage ourselves of, I want to talk through something. I don't want you to fix it, but I just need to talk about it. And you've done that to me too, which is nice. And I feel like we've also gotten a rapport with each other that's deep enough where if the other goes into that, because we understand it's human nature to want to, even just nudging and saying, hey, appreciate you, but right now I don't want a solution.
Not getting so offended if the proper approach isn't used by the other person.
Right.
Because sometimes you forget that, hey, maybe I should ask what you need. And just those default operating systems step in and I think you're asking for something and you're not, or it feels like you're reprioritizing me, but you're not. You're actually just asking.
Yeah.
There's so many different layers that come up of like, am I hungry? Am I tired? You know, who knows if you're walking?
Wheel.
Yeah, like who knows if if one of us is on a different end of that tired spectrum or energy level.
Yeah.
And we show up in not the best way. Things might not go well, but
right.
I think like you said, we've both realized that bringing grace to those interactions is the easiest way to go.
Yeah.
And allows us to move forward, even if the interaction didn't start out the way either one of us maybe wanted it to.
Yeah. I think this morning is a good example. Like you came out, you're just like, oh, I'm going to get my coffee. And I had been up for about, 2 hours?
Probably.
Or so. And I had been doing some reading and I had been doing some work around Stutz and working through things. And I was kind of grumpy and overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
By kind of the emotions I was feeling, like through that process of self-reflection and journaling and pairing it with our upcoming trip, and just like, oh my goodness, how am I going to show up if I'm also feeling these things around? I've just had like some soreness in my hip, and cutting back with certain foods just because of
inflammation or whatever,
and stuff like that. And I was feeling a little like, wow, I'm going to be traveling in a way that I haven't traveled for a while. And I was feeling the feels.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't think you woke up like, I'm gonna come out and get a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning. And my wife, who 98% of the time I get up and she's like, oh, hey, how's it going, sunshine? Blah, blah, blah. Is just sitting there all like, not sad or depressed, but just kind of this heavy overwhelm feeling, right? If I was to describe it, I think that's it
didn't feel that heavy to me. And I don't mean that to minimize what you were feeling. It's just that I'm sure I completely believe and agree with however you say you felt. But to me, it didn't feel overbearing or overwhelming.
Yeah.
So my perspective isn't that, oh my gosh, what is up with her? Why is she acting this way? And now I have to sit here and listen to her talk. I quite easily realize like, oh, she needs a supportive partner to listen.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel overwhelming to me. And you just needed a thought partner.
Yeah.
To, mostly listen, but also like I try to reflect back what I'm hearing. And so that I can gain clarity.
You're asking questions.
Yeah. And I mean, it's always tricky for me in those situations. I do feel the urge to make it all better. Like, let's clean up that boo-boo and like put a little Band-Aid over it, right? That's just part of who I am. And it's like, I don't want you to feel bad or to be struggling or whatever it might be. I even say something like, I'm not trying to tell you to do A, B, or C or this or that, but what I'm hearing from you makes me think of this. And I'm not trying to tell you that this is the solution, but this is how I would feel in this scenario. And so it's like, I'm dancing around that giving advice.
Yeah.
But I know I'm doing it and I'm dancing around it because I know it might sound like advice, but what I'm really trying to do is gain some clarity and actually see, this is how I would feel. Is that what you're saying? Because I'm not quite sure. And so I'm actually just mining for clarity and so that I can understand better.
Yeah.
And I'm always like a little like, I don't mean this to sound this way. I'm not trying to like tell you how you ought to fix this or that, And so I tend to, I don't know if it's hedge or whatever, but like then I start this spiral of rambling like I am right now. And I'm like, I don't think I'm being helpful anymore. And then I stop and then you get to talk again. So
Yeah.
just like right now, go.
I think we're at our best when we're able to have open conversations and we don't take it personally. Like if I'm to say, nope, I don't want you to fix it right now. I feel like you're about to fix it.
Yeah.
Or if I say something back and you're like, okay, I can understand why you might have thought that, but this is actually what I meant. And so I feel like we're at our best when we're able to do that.
Well, oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, like, even this morning, I don't know what was going on, but I was like, Keith, I'm tired this morning. I woke up tired. And you're like, okay.
Like you took a 2.5 hour nap and went to bed on time.
I know.
In the evening.
So tired. Something must be wrong if I'm still tired. And I'm like, oh my word. You're like, well, I think it's going to be okay. You can just kind of relax. I'm like, oh yeah.
I don't think that's what I said.
No, you didn't say that, but you're just understanding. You didn't make it too hot and you didn't make it too cold,
I think it was closer to me saying, I can understand how you might be feeling that way, even though you got a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about some things that are probably feeling kind of heavy.
A little overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to be clear.
Yeah. Okay. I had one more thing on my list.
Yeah.
As we were talking about how we interact and communicate, one of the strategies we use that we stumbled upon several years ago kind of goes back to something we tried to teach our toddlers. And I don't think it was very successful, was to try and listen actively because we both have a lot to say. And we were finding if you just sit and listen and listen and listen, you would either forget what it was you were going to say, or you would kind of get in your own head and you're like, oh my goodness, is Keith going to stop rambling? I have something I want to say. Or, oh my gosh, is Laura going to stop? Because I want to say something. So we came up with this nonverbal signal to each other and to ourselves that has helped us a lot, where we just cross our fingers. If there's something that we thought of, we don't want to interrupt right now, but we don't want to forget what we wanted to say. And it's also a good signal to the other person, like, oh, Keith has something he wants to say.
Yeah.
When I wrap up my thought, I can take a breath and let him share, and vice versa. So I saw you do it during this conversation already once.
I did?
You did.
That might have been an accident.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you brought to my attention maybe like 6 or 7 years ago or something that I interrupt. And that was really hard to hear, especially because I am not always the most vocal person.
Yeah.
And I do feel safe with you. But that reaction was my reaction about me and not considering how it felt for you to be interrupted in the specific instance in which I'm thinking about, of like where it finally clicked. I realized like, oh, this isn't about me being rude. It's about how I'm showing up is affecting my wife and not giving her the space that she deserves to say what she wants to say. And you weren't mean, you weren't rude about it, but it felt mean and it felt rude at first because I took it so personally.
Yeah.
And it might have even been many years before it all blends together. What that brings up, I think, is that what is it? Your intent isn't the same as
your impact.
Your impact, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was maybe one of the better lessons I learned. And not that I'm great at how I show up and don't interject every now and then, because I get moments of like excitement where I'm like, I just have to say this thing and interrupt. But that is maybe one of the keys to maybe how I've grown in communication, because I don't always interrupt, but it seemed to happen with you. But it's probably because I felt so secure with you.
Right.
Or we were talking about something that was so important that I really wanted to fix it, maybe, to kind of bring it back to all those things.
Yeah.
And so it was like just this melting pot of scenarios that I thought I was I had so much to offer, but it's actually like I wasn't showing up the way that you needed me to.
Well, I think vice versa, right? Because even I remember once when I was at a job when I worked, I can't remember. Oh, I remember where it was. Okay. I won't say where it was, but I remember. But I remember I had a supervisor and the conversations were often very awkward. I knew where they were going. And so I would often try and finish the thought, or, there'd be a pause, like an awkward pause, and I'd finish the thought. And there's one time my supervisor said, "Do not anticipate me." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing?" And I realized that I was finishing the thoughts because it was awkward. There was a strained pause. I knew enough what most likely was going to come. And I found that I did that with you too. So it was one of those things that this also helped me to let you finish your thought
Yeah.
as well, instead of trying to just fill in what I'm pretty sure is going to happen.
I almost just interrupted.
Look at you, double
Yeah.
fingers.
That was like, because I almost just interrupted, which I might have actually still because you took a breath, but I almost finished your sentence
Yeah.
right there. And
Yeah.
now I'm just explaining that, and I almost forgot what I was going to interrupt about. But that anticipation, or maybe it's that feeling we get when it feels like somebody is just wanting us to move along and get to the point, makes you feel rushed and not seen,
Sure.
or heard.
Yeah.
And I almost just did it, so I was kind of giggling to myself. That's why I did like the double guns. I'm like, oh my gosh, I almost did the thing that we're talking about not doing. It happens though.
It does. And honestly, as we're talking through it, I know these are things that we've done to try and be better listeners, be better communicators, be more present for each other. It doesn't mean we get it right all the time.
No.
But it does mean that we try and prioritize kind of a human-centered approach. I don't know if that's the way to say it, but kind of that going back to that idea of someone actually cares about me and sees me for me. We try and approach how we communicate to each other, I think, with that.
Yeah. Well, and like what you were just saying, like anticipating somebody or finishing their sentence or assuming you know what they're going to say, which I've done to you, and you've pointed it out to me, and maybe it was because you had that experience, right? Yeah. I don't know the exact timeline.
I still do it too. Sometimes I'm like, start later.
Yeah.
Go faster.
Like let's get to the part where I understand what you're actually trying to say.
Yeah.
Like I'll do that to you. I'll be like, hold on, stop. You're saying a lot, but I missed the subject. I have no idea where I am in this sentence. But that's but when we do that to the other person, it makes you feel unseen and unheard because you're not getting to vocalize or express the feelings that you're having in your own words.
Right.
And that's a delicate balance though, because it doesn't always feel that way. But when it does, it makes you feel unsupported, I think is maybe the best way to say it, or like dejected. Like I simply wanted to be able to say what was on my mind, and I can't even say that, right? Like that could be like a script in my head.
Yeah.
Or like I'm sure I've made you feel that way when I've interrupted or finished what I thought you were going to say, or assumed it was going to be this way because it's been that way 5 other times, and maybe this was the one time you were going to say something different, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we're fighting, right? Like, or because I couldn't just have patience and listen.
Are we fighting or just salty?
Yeah, well, arguing or whatever,
Yeah.
But that active listening that you brought up, is huge.
Yeah.
But I just heard in because I've learned about active listening years ago, and it comes up every now and then, and it's always great when somebody's sharing those tools and those techniques to be a good listener and having good conversations with another person. But I just heard it in a book, and I'll remember what it is sometime, but it's not going to be right now.
Okay.
That the thing I do to you sometimes is say you're sharing like an anecdote or a situation, and I'll be like, oh, that's like the time when that same thing happened for me in this instance. And to me, that feels like me sharing with you and joining with you, but it doesn't always feel like that for you, and it probably doesn't always feel like that for me if somebody does it to me. And
Right.
what I just heard was someone said, you're adding a parallel, and that feels like you're making a connection, but when you think about parallel lines, they never join. And I was like,
Interesting.
oh,
Wow. Yeah.
I'm
Right.
like, okay. I'm like, that
Huh.
gives a little more credence to what Laura said when she made me feel bad for sharing my part of a story to make me feel more connected. You know, I'm joking, but like, I like sharing similarities can forge connection,
Yeah.
but it doesn't always happen. Sometimes it makes the other person feel unheard or unseen.
Right.
And that's a delicate balance. And we have the relationship where you can tell me now
Yeah.
without much hubbubaloo
Yeah.
that, hey, you know what? That's not helping. That you just shifted it from me sharing something to now your story.
Right. Yeah. I
I'm
think
like,
we're more
I'm
open
like,
with
well, that's
that.
not what I was trying to do. Like, and then I'm explaining away my actions versus listening to you and what you had to say, right?
Yeah.
So that those parallel stories, they don't create a connection all the time, you know, because they don't cross, they don't connect.
Yeah.
So I'll have to remember where I heard that. Isn't a something I'm listening to.
Yeah. That's I really like that because we all have a tendency to want to connect with people. And by connection, oftentimes it is by connecting stories and experiences. But you're right that those parallel lines don't cross. And so sometimes the intent of connection
Yeah.
doesn't have the same impact, going back to intent versus impact.
Yeah. You're trying to create a commonality, I think, whether it's unintentional or intentional,
Yeah.
but it can also make somebody feel like you weren't really listening, you were waiting to talk.
Right. Yeah.
Is there anything that came up with the Zoom conversation or whatever? Or?
The main thing that stuck with me from the Zoom call was the idea that someone saw this person for who they truly were and not just a sum of the different parts or checklists or tasks that they were responsible for. And I just really thought there's a lot of synergy, not with her feeling like she's often boiled down to the tasks and things like that, but we see each other for each other and appreciate each other for who we are as people and are always striving to make sure the other one feels seen, even though we do have our tasks and our responsibilities and those pieces. And that is clearly part of our relationship, as well as making sure that our family is moving forward and taking care of the way that we want it to be. I just really appreciate you seeing me for me because I feel seen. That matters.
Agreed. Let's wrap it up with some recommendations.
Sounds good.
So what do you got?
So I have two different recommendations today. First recommendation that I have is Lessons for Living by Phil Stutz. It's one of his more recent books that came out, but it pairs with his books around the tools. Really good. It's a powerful book. I listened to it on Audible, and I think it was only about 4 hours, so it wasn't a very long book. And then the other one that I've been listening to as well, called Educated by Tara Westover. And so it's a memoir of of her it's memoir about a girl who grew up in Idaho, not going to school and then ended up going to BYU as well as Cambridge, and kind of her life journey going from rural Idaho to Cambridge. And so it's an interesting read.
Cool.
How about you?
I remembered the book I was listening to where I heard the thing about like the parallel
Yeah.
conversations, parallel lines not connecting. I'm listening to Everybody Fights, so
Okay.
why not get better at it? is like the
Oh,
subline
all right.
by Kim and Penn Holderness of,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
channel that they do like a lot of songs and like in videos on
Yeah.
YouTube and stuff.
Okay.
And it's about marriage and their relationship. I'm not all the way through, but so far it's really good. And that they brought that up, and I'm like, oh, that's really good. I think I was doing laundry while I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, I'm like, that's really powerful. I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a nice book, and they I like their personalities, and they always have good content whenever I see it or if you share it with me. So
That's great.
yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
All right, let's get out of here.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Did I say bye on the last one?
Yeah.
Okay.